Hey, what's up, guys? We're going to take a more in-depth look at the beginning stages of the last Caretaker and break apart more of the nitty-gritty dynamics of the nuances and intricacies involved with the game. We'll be taking a closer look at the modular crafting system, the recycling breakdown and component system, and how to build larger, intricate machines and operations with some of the resources that we'll pick up along the way. Make sure to like and subscribe to all the socials, and here we go. All right, as our little Caretaker is loading up and coming online, it's running its first diagnostics. And here we are. We've come to in this room. All the information that we are given is there's a bed, so this must be our room, and it is dark. Well, the lights don't work. So almost immediately, you are given very little information to go on. Based off of the heads-up display in your bottom left corner, you have your tool belt, and you have menu items that you can press. So you can hit tab for inventory, which we don't have anything in, but this brings up other clues as to what we might be working with. We'll click over to our skills, and at level 1, all we've unlocked is the repair tool and the torch, and we'll see what we can preview at level 2. Our enhancers, or our attributes for our little Caretaker here. These characteristics will pretty much give you the versatility to customize your Caretaker to however and whatever you would like. There's plenty of templates and resources online that outline the best builds that are available, and you can check those out. I personally, when I start leveling up, I put more emphasis on scrapper, battery, and power management. You'll see scrapper will allow you to break down and dismantle items more quickly and efficiently without using as much battery, and you couple that with power management, you save a lot of resources by leveling these up early on. Now again, it is entirely up to you on how you'd like to proceed, to each their own. That is the beauty of this game. Under the build tab, this is your building or crafting section, and you can see all we have available are just these few items, no quest, no task, and very little in the vault, which is just stuff that you have starting out. So from here, we know that the electricity doesn't work. We go to the door. We can grab the handle with the left click of the mouse key.
But it doesn't have to stay that way. Reconnect the power. Bring this place back to life.
And with that, we're given our first instructions from the narrator. Connect power to this place and bring it back to life. Well, I know I have a battery, a medium-sized battery, and a place to plug it, but nothing to plug it with. Where am I going to get that? You search around the room for clues, and here you see some boxes on the shelf. You can loot these items, and here you find resources, but that's still not going to connect that. So you keep searching, and you notice that you have 2 doors. One is electrically activated that you can't open because there's no power. The other is manually activated, so let's go on here. And you can activate your torch tool or your headlight by pressing 6 or whatever designation you have in your tool belt. And now we can see another one of our long-lost companions sitting there on the bed, but what's this? We have cables and little batteries. So we'll pop up in our inventory, and now we see what these resources are that we've looted. So we've got fabric and iron and rubber and all the raw resources we're going to need to make stuff, and now we have electrical cables. There's a little glow stick if I wanted it, and a consumable battery. Well, if I right-click on consumable battery, I can add it to my holster. I can use it, or I can split up the stack if I have a few. If I use one, you can see down at the bottom that it has increased my power in the battery supply. Back to it, or we could put it in our holster and have it handy for when we do need it. Now we realize we have the items we need to connect the power.
Good work, Caretaker. Every restored connection brings us closer to reclaiming our home. Caretaker, head to the docking hangar. There's something important there waiting to show us our path.
Go ahead and cut off our lamp. Take notice before you leave the starting area. There are an assortment of resources in this room alone that are unassuming. But these are vital resources that will come in extremely handy later on. You've noticed that there are items laying around. You can grab and move items. You can pick up an item by left-clicking the mouse and holding, and you can right-click while holding to throw it. Now that we have access to this electric door, let's go in here. Take a look around. See another companion and some human loot. You look around in here and there's some scrap on the floor that you can pick up. We've picked up some scraps, plastic scraps that we'll probably refine or break down to make bundles like this, but just of plastic. So that must be later on. Let's move on. We'll go through the door, hit the light. Notice our companion buddy at the top of the stairs, and we're going to set him off to the side. Now we are instructed to look at this location here. It's a save station and a heal station. We're directed to use those. So let's get some power in here, some light. We have cables here. And now we're at a healing and save station, or backup station. So we'll go ahead and heal ourselves. So you connect these cords by pressing and holding E, and you can drop them with Q. Now here we're going to back up, and it is imperative that you back up as often as you come across these save stations. If you do not, and you've been playing for half an hour, fall off a building, die, suddenly you've lost the progress. What this game does not inherently tell you is that there is an option in your menu. Go to game, go to autosave, and you can adjust the duration of how often the game autosaves. If you don't adjust this, I believe the default is off. I leave mine at 5, so the game is autosaving every 5 minutes. But if you are a brand new player and you don't know that exists, at the bare minimum, make sure you hit up the backup station as often as you can, especially if you have leveled and progressed quite a bit. We see some more loot, human loot. See some propaganda on the wall. See another one of our buddies and a battery on the floor. Now this isn't trash. All of this material is going to be very useful. So remember to come back here after you progress a little bit further into the game. You'll thank me. All right, we've got the obstructions moved. Let's move on. And here we have what looks like a lift or an elevator. Another computer. Some more propaganda, and lots of materials to break down. How are we going to break these down? I'll show you. Now, most new players will be inclined to take the elevator, but there's usually reasons why there are little felons to leave like breadcrumbs along the way. You'll notice those items that we've passed. Make sure to come back and get these as well. For now, we'll just advance on with the main story because that's all that matters. And now we encounter our first enemy of the game. These biopods will be found all over the place, and you smack them and they've got those little critters that come out that are easily dispatched by using the melee tool, which you're prompted to use C. Now you can use that crowbar, or if you have your repair tool, you can also use that to melee. The game does not necessarily tell you that outright, but if you didn't know, now you do. You can put away or holster any item that you have in your hand by pressing Q. And we'll continue to move on. Move this little buddy out of the way.
There she is, your vessel. More than just metal and circuits, it's your freedom. This boat is how you'll reclaim the seas, and perhaps even your identity. The dock systems are offline. Without them, we're trapped here. Restore the power, Caretaker, so we can sail again.
So now you're giving your next real directive to restore power to the dock so we can subsequently restore power to the boat and set sail again. Now make sure to check around all of the nooks and crannies. There's all of these resources that are available to you that you won't even know are there if you aren't looking. All of the scrap that you pick up along the way, hang on to it because we're going to figure out what to do with it here in just a bit. Some more electrical cables, and now we have leveled to level 2. Since we've leveled, we'll open up our skills to see what we've unlocked, and here we see our first real row of items. Now you'll notice the first two have zeros on them. We have 3 skill points to use. These cost 0. We'll go ahead and unlock those. Those aren't using any of the skill points we have available. Your dismantle tool is probably going to be the most important item to unlock as soon as you hit level 2. Since it's free, go ahead and do it. Same with this little basic electric engine cylinder, as they'll both be vitally necessary here early on. Now from here, it is entirely up to you what you choose to unlock. But your electrical cable, knowing how to make that, and your electric cable extender or hub, these are going to be the very items that you're going to need almost immediately in this game. From here, you can unlock these other items. You've got your fuel cable extender or hub. Both of those are fine to unlock. Most people unlock the fuel cable. I typically do as well. You can also unlock the loom light or the solar panel. You will need this almost immediately from leaving the dock, but I highly recommend for all new players, especially brand new players starting out, that you remain in the starting area and explore every nook and cranny, or at least until you hit level 5 at the bare minimum. I would not leave before 5. 1, it's incredibly easy to level up early on in this game, but 2, you're going to need the skills that come along with a higher level than you're going to have access to at 2 and 3. So I would at least wait until you're level 5. I would prefer, if it were up to me, you get to about 7 or 8, but to each their own. I know a lot of new players want to move on to the next area. Level 5 needs to be your minimum, and you'll see as we progress as to why. I'll let you guys choose which one of these you want to unlock, and it's, again, with the enhancements, really doesn't matter what you choose to unlock, but I'm personally want to put about 5 in scrapper, and then a couple in battery management and battery, just because we break down a lot of items and it uses a lot of power. So doing that efficiently is the direction I'm going to go, and give my ability to carry some weight. And now we have a new tool that we've unlocked. So we'll press T for the toolbar, and we can quick access the dismantle tool and put that in our action bar. We'll go ahead and put that in 2 so the repair and the dismantle are together, and we'll put the torch all the way out to the side to make it easy to distinguish. Right, so we'll pull up the dismantle tool, go ahead and break down one of our companions here, and you can see the items, the scraps that you get off of everything that you break down. Get used to scrapping down everything. As a new player, nothing is off limits. Scrap everything. Plastic, iron are going to be your most used commodities, so focus on those. Plastic especially. Plastic gets incredibly hard to come by later on in this game, so moderating those resources efficiently and effectively is the best way to navigate this type of game. So we'll continue to move on, and you'll notice as you're making progress into the area, there are symbols painted on the walls that indicate where resources are. So up here, your electricity, you're indicated that it's upstairs. Can't get in there with that electricity. But you take a look through the door and you see that there are a couple of machines in there that we're probably going to use. That looks like a scrapper or a recycler. That's where our scraps are probably going to go. So let's get some power to this bad boy. You get up here and you realize that the power doesn't run to this particular area, and that's where we need to be. How do we get over there? Well, you notice the grate over this vent is a little shifted. You can grab it, remove it, and here is your next big puzzle piece of the game. Every point of interest that you come across in this game will have hidden areas, hidden entrances, and hidden mazes for you to navigate through to get to areas that you couldn't reach otherwise, or brings you to an abundance of resources. This little fella here, along with that battery. And be mindful, the more juice you use and the more weight you carry, the quicker your battery depletes. We're where we need to be. Go ahead and grab that, knock it off, and let's restore power to this bad boy. You notice the cable's coming down from the steps, but we don't know what it's from or what it's to. Oh no, we can't hook it up because this thing needs to be repaired. So we'll pull up our repair tool. We've got just enough resources to repair it.
Dad is alive again, thanks to you. Each step forward reconnects us to a brighter future. Caretaker, you were never meant to remain bound. These waters were once pathways, carrying life, purpose, and discovery. Something awaits you out there, ready to be reclaimed.
Now from here, the game really starts to take off. You'll notice as you look around, you've got a battery, a medium battery that's supplying power to the dock. And over here, you have a save station. So let's go ahead and save. You press and hold E to connect, press and hold E to disconnect, press and hold Q to drop. All right. Let's hook this cord up, see what it does. Oh, nothing. Look around, notice some power. And here we have a terminal that we can access, and this is one we can't. We've got different options to choose, so you can select security, go through the security cams in the building, see what all you have to look forward to. There's you. Got data logs, which this is a tedious read, but it is a wealth of information and paints a pretty vivid backstory of what was happening with humanity at this time before this collapse or catastrophe happened. The survival guide offers a tremendous wealth of information that goes into further detail about the materials and the resources that you'll come across and how to use them, as well as what these batteries do, your containers, your resource containers, what those resources are for. I strongly recommend a new player read through this information. It also breaks down the enemies that you'll encounter. So we'll go back to the top. These cocoons, you get to see all the wonderful critters that you get to look forward to. Your weapons, everything can be found in those terminals, but if you miss it, don't worry, you'll always come back to it. You can access that menu on your person. Now, you'll notice these ladders throughout all of your points of interest that have these little flaps, these little flares. Make sure to knock those every chance you get, because they'll allow access and quick transport between areas, so you can navigate quickly and efficiently without having to go all the way around. Now that we're back here, we'll enter the room we couldn't enter before, that we have power. Now we are introduced to our two big machines. Here we have a Fabricator and a Recylcer, but you can't access them because they don't have power. Luckily for us, they give us a big medium-sized battery up to the Recylcer, and this is where you drop off your materials. And it turns those into the bundles of resources that you will need. You can also pick up items and toss in there. And as you do so, you'll notice the ticking away of the objectives in the upper corner. Being a modular type crafting system, it's important to note that the more rare the items, the more rare the resources that you get out of those items. So rare pieces like technology that have components in them that you wouldn't get from a tire, things like that. It's important to scrap down any and everything that you can and learn what these resources are, which ones are more abundant, which ones are harder to get. Just like I said, plastic. And managing your resources is also vitally important, but we'll move on. Like I said, here's another grate. Make sure you're paying attention to these little hidden areas as you're traversing and exploring your points of interest, because they often lead you to other hidden areas that you cannot get access to otherwise. Also, make sure to cut off your headlamp when it's not in use, and be mindful of your scrapping and breaking down of materials, as well as repairing. As you'll notice, the more you break down with your dismantle tool, the juice drops considerably. So you use juice for everything. You use electricity to dismantle items, you'll use it to repair items, to craft, to sprint, to run. You use juice for everything. It's no doubt at this point you've started to piece together the overall arching narrative of The Last Caretaker, but if you haven't, you are playing out exactly that. Caretakers are AI sentient robots that were built by humanity to preserve and protect human life, or that what was left here on this earth before a catastrophic destruction. The catastrophic destruction brought about a mass migration of humanity to an off-world location, and the remaining parts of humanity banded together and created the Lazarus Project, which grows human seeds, which don't ask me what that is. They start with human seeds, which are these little pods, and you grow them into humans and ship them off-world in a big rocket that you have to fuel and pretty much craft the entire way there. So that's the overall narrative of what this game, The Last Caretaker, is. And since there aren't any humans around, these children are growing up without adults. So these little robots are here to take care and make sure that they are fed, nourished, housed, and provided the basic necessities to limp along in life, to be able to be put on a rocket and shuttled across space to parts unknown, to join the rest of humanity in some utopian planet. I don't know. I guess that's what the next chapter of the full release will bring. But right now, being in early access, this is what we have. On the rooftop, you find all these little goodies everywhere, and you're going to want to grab them all up. But essentially, we're going to take these power items, the solar panels and the wind turbines, and connect that power to the facility to juice up our boat and get out of here. This is where you run into your first real encounter of enemies, but they're all easily dispatched. Thankfully, the more difficult enemies don't come along until later on when you have firepower, and really, really nice and lots of firepower. You have to be careful to make sure to get all of the tentacles, because if you don't, we'll regenerate and come back. The pod and everything, and the little critters inside, the whole package. So now that we have taken care of those, we want to pick up what scraps we can, and notice the array configuration and the networking setup they already have. Pretty generous, basically hand feeding us the dessert. But for those who have a tough time figuring it out, we're going to get what power we can to the building, and we're going to juice up the dock and the boat. Don't think we have enough. Oh, we do. We have enough material to repair. Most of the time, we don't have enough of this material at the beginning stage. If you craft everything and break it down and refine it, you'll eventually come up with what you need. The player debate is, do you need to repair all of these items, both the turbines and the solar panels, everything that you see here, or can we just do some of them? Personally, I'm a fan of the turbines, simply because that's a continuous form of power, whereas solar panels are only operable during the daytime. So I will prioritize the turbines over panels, but when in a pinch, I will do whatever's necessary. But I'm not going to repair the fourth solar panel that's all the way over there. I like to repair these three and all of the turbines. I'll show you why, but make sure to keep a close eye on your power. You don't want to juice yourself out. This is a good place to stop with the repairs. And before we connect this array, we probably need to get rid of a lot of the junk that we have, because we're approaching max hauling capacity. If you haven't noticed, we've already leveled up. So at level 3, you've gained 4 skill points to unlock in row 3 of level 3. You can unlock what you want, but I highly recommend unlocking the DuraPack as soon as you can, just because space is an extremely rare commodity in this game, just like real estate in a flooded landscape. Now, some folks will say go ahead and unlock the electric pistol. Others will say hold off and wait and just unlock the bolt pistol at level 5. I agree with the latter. I think that's one of the reasons why I say don't leave the home base until you're level 5. But if you can't, or you just want a firearm, you can go ahead and unlock that. However, again, resources to me are the priority, so we'll go ahead and unlock the Whisper or the turbine, as well as the diesel engine cylinder. And we have 1 point left. We'll go ahead and get the fuel cable. And with my enhancers, we'll continue with the scrapper. I'm going to increase my haul capacity by just a couple, but the rest will go into battery and power management. We'll bring those up to 5. So both of these 5, scrappers at 7, and my haul mastery is now at 3. What this will do will allow me to carry more scrap, more weight, further and for longer durations. So I don't have to go run and do the recycling thing every 5 minutes. So instead of running all the way back down to the recycler, you have an option. Here is a port, which is a clue, a hub or an extender that lets you know, hey, you can hook up power here to this wall. That's a good indicator that there's typically a fabricator and a recycler on the other side, or a console that will need powering. But either way, it's worth checking out. Come in and boom, just like I said. So from here, let's see if we have enough cable to get it to the recycler. Yay, we do. So now you don't have to run all the way back down. There is one of these on the roof that you can use, but it does require that you power it. You can also bring up a small battery if you would like. If you don't have enough resources to connect to the overall hub that you're running, make sure to check the scan around surroundings to get some good nuggets of resources available. And there's also a vent. You'll want to make sure to check out this before you get much further. Now, before we continue onward, we'll go ahead and see what behind door number 2. And it looks like a ladder. A lot of times if you hit that flap and then jump on the ladder immediately, you can ride it down. Don't have to crawl all the way down. Now this opens the hangar door. We're not there yet, so we're going to continue on. We need some juice. So we'll go in here where we know the battery is, hook it up, and we'll hit F, change it to input for faster. We'll hook it back up to our recycler. And you see I've already got some materials already broken down over here. And now that we have unlocked the DuraPack, or the storage bin, we'll proceed to the boat. Some more small batteries, just pick those up. This one, take this connector, these little blue and yellow ports on the side of your boat. Yellow is for diesel, blue is for electricity. So here we're juicing up the boat, and we need to heal. If you go below the cabin boat, there's a heal station. Make sure to save. And from here, you can just go ahead and either complete the minimum objectives so you can leave the starting hangar, or you can continue to level up like I advise. And this blue box will carry it with us. It goes down to the engine room. You see in the objectives in the upper left corner, one of those is to repair the diesel engine. Pull up our repair tool. Voila. Now this is a diesel cylinder. Another one of your objectives. And we'll open this door. Oh, another scrapper, recycler, and fabricator. You'll connect the electrical engine blocks as directed, and it doesn't really matter which slot you put them in, as long as you grab. Now, most of these can be found around the boat. As soon as you get here, get a little diesel canister, set that in here, and the diesel cylinder that we need. Voila. We'll refuel the boat with this diesel that they've provided. And keep in mind what I said, the directional flow of these valves. You press F to change the direction and have it go one way, the opposite direction, equalize, which is where there's as much fluid in the reserve as it is from whatever you're putting it in, but we're going to input it all. I also strongly advise clearing your deck of all of this debris before you set sail. For now, we'll continue on with the mission. Going back to what I said about the DuraPack, now that we've unlocked that at level 3, in the back room of your boat, or anywhere really, you see the ingredients to build that. It requires 2 alloy frames, 1 display screen. Alloy frame requires iron and plastic, plenty of that. Display screen requires plastic, copper, and glass. There you go. Now that you have a little storage bin, set it up on the counter, and we'll throw all of our resources in here for the time being, free up our weight. And I would go ahead and just build 2 because you're going to need it. And be mindful that this is consuming your electricity resources while you're crafting. It does not consume your electricity resources if you use the fabricator, but it definitely does if you make it on your person. I don't think it changes the duration or the time and how long it takes to make items, but it definitely consumes your own energy if you use yours versus using a fabricator. I'll show you guys a nifty storage trick here to conserve on space. While you're holding an item, you can press F to rotate it, and if you'll crouch, there we go, wedge these in there, really conserve on space. Can't really see the top of it, but if you know what container houses what, it really doesn't matter. Eventually we'll have all of the bottom full of these little ones and all of the top full of the big ones, but that's for a later video. For now, we'll carry on. Just like with the fuel, we're going to input all of our battery, but if you don't know how to change the direction and you can't get all of the juice out to meet the minimum requirement to leave the dock, you can always run down power from the rooftop. Since you already wired in, free this up. Also change this direction to empty out that battery. I would go ahead and build a little hub on the back of your boat just to have because they're handy. And another nifty trick is that as long as it's a flat surface, you can put these extenders anywhere. Ceilings, walls, anywhere, as long as it's flat. You can see, and just by nearly filling up the bottom shelves with these DuraPacks, you're almost at level 4. But to get you the rest of the way there, Go back to the beginning stages. Remember what I said earlier? Even if you don't check out the air ducts, if you don't do anything else, definitely make sure you go back to the beginning stages, the beginning area of the game. You're going to find some really good resources here. Tech scraps, usually carry titanium. That would be needed for larger items like turbines. Remember what else I said? Take the ladder. Then once you reach the bottom, call the elevator back. You don't have to climb all the way back up. And just like that, we hit level 4. So you can see it's really not that difficult to reach level 5 before embarking out. Give it a whirl. Be sure to give it a valiant effort before you do leave the beginning stages. Just going back through and clearing the other caretakers as well as the bed. The bed has high-tech scraps. That's why I said make sure to remember to revisit the area that you begin in. Go over here and top off with some juice.
But your task does not change.
With this last bed, then we'll head on. Let's see what this does.
They will not thank you. Without you, they cannot.
And here we go. Leave no companion behind. And to make life easier on yourself, just jump to the boat. It's not worth taking the time waddling at this speed. Okay, so we're a little over halfway to level 5. The last objective we'll do to get us the rest of the way. And like I said, if you haven't cleared the deck of your boat, go ahead and do so. You're going to need all of the space and real estate that you can get. These beds, the technology that comes off of these beds, high-tech scraps, extremely valuable and helpful for a little bit later on in the game. You see how much power those beds consume? We won't go through all of the air duct system in the starting area just because there are several, but there's 3 main ones that you'll need to look out for. There's 2 inside and 1 area that you can reach on the outside. And just be careful for these little blobs. They're the other types of enemies that you'll encounter in the beginning area. They're all easy to get rid of, none of which require the pistol at this point. See what I mean? Little hidden areas that have loot in them. And one of the items that you will pick up in these little hidden areas are these canisters of food. And what these are going to be used for eventually is once you find your human seeds and you're growing those into full-grown humans, you will use these little canisters of food to feed them and help them grow. So you'll want to hang on to all of the human loot that you can, especially these food canisters, just because they are vitally necessary for later in the game with its missions and the objectives. So I mentioned this briefly in the quick view video. The back portion of your boat is pretty interesting. There's a few mechanical items that you'll need to take note of that the game doesn't explicitly detail what they're used for. You just kind of have to walk up and explore. So this is your water pump. It pulls salt water from the ocean, and you'll use a water purifier to clean that to make it drinkable water. This is your net, and this cargo container, it's actually storage for the net. So when you drop your net, when you're in the open ocean, and you bring it back in, your net will be stored here, and any of the items that it catches will be stored in this box. Use this as storage for whatever you want for the time being. Save on space and resources for the amount of boxes that you're having to build. Just from clearing one of the ducts, we're almost to level 5 now. So at this point, you should be close to level 5. And before we continue, we'll go ahead and check out the skills available that we've unlocked at level 4. And one of the things that you're definitely going to want to unlock early on is the diesel generator. Now, you can unlock the small battery, you can unlock the small diesel container if you would like. Just keep in mind, if you craft both of these, they consume a lot of resources. Specifically, the small battery will consume a ridiculous amount of your power or juice or electricity. So make sure you're plugged in to a power source, constantly feeding you an input of energy while you're crafting the small batteries or anything larger if you're not using the Fabricator. Same with the small diesel container. These require a little bit of diesel fuel to create. So if you don't have a means of inputting diesel like another small container, you can't make a small container. So we're going to prioritize our focus on the diesel generator. This is absolutely necessary for early navigation. The rest I'll let you guys choose. And with enhancements, we're going to continue on with our scrapper build. We're going to bring up the scrapper to 10. Battery and power management are going to stay at 5 until we hit level 5. We'll come back to this. For now, we're going to add a couple to vitality and increase our haul mastery. So at this point, you're going to start running into more enemies. You're going to need a little bit of a life buffer, adding some points in the vitality tab. You can put points in these others, but they're not going to come into play as early on as these other attributes would. So again, to each their own, you choose where the focus and the priority needs to be. But we'll take a look at our build and see that the diesel generator is requiring quite a bit of materials to produce. And these are refined materials, not raw materials. So you look over here, we've got 2 connector ports, 2 alloy frames, a compression pump, and a filtering system. I don't want to make all of this on my person. That is a lot of power to consume. So we're going to come down here to our Fabricator. We're going to give it some power, and we're going to let it do all of the heavy lifting for us. So you notice these items that you are going to want to fabricate are shaded out, meaning you don't have all of the materials on hand to be able to make these. I'll show you a little trick. We'll go ahead and craft all of the components we're going to need to build the generator. We'll get them queued up. Okay, now we have it all queued. We'll come over here and get the items that we're needing. And you notice the little blue light that come out? A lot of times, if you're close enough in proximity, it'll pull the materials out as needed. And that's what it appears to be doing here. And finally, one of the last things we'll do is build our diesel generator. It's an elective thing. You do not have to build this. I just think that it comes in extremely handy for new players, especially on limited resources and the amount of fuel that your boat's going to consume as soon as you take off. This is just a nice little backup measure to provide an alternative fuel source so you don't end up in a tight situation. It requires energy to operate as well as bio-organic matter. So all of this material that we've been hanging on to, this is why. So if we weren't already full with fuel, that would be producing diesel from that matter. Since we're so close to 5, we're going to go ahead and start our final approach. And a couple of things that I feel are important for all new players, especially before you leave the dock for the first time, go ahead and break down these big ticket items. No, you have not unlocked them in your skill set yet. However, the materials that come off of them are going to be extremely valuable for other items that we're going to need before we unlock the diesel tank. Okay, so we've got a nice little stockpile here. And there we go, just hit level 5. So we'll begin our departing procedures here briefly. Before we leave, make sure to disconnect all of your power cables. Again, you can disconnect from the extender or the hub and hold Q, and it will put it away for you, so you don't have to worry about running up and disconnecting it and all that good stuff. We're going to leave that connector there because that's going to become extremely useful later on. We've already dismantled the diesel reserve tank. We're going to go ahead and dismantle this battery here. We'll deposit these. And before you go, remember the question we asked at the very beginning of the video. Do we need to repair and connect the solar panels on the roof? All of them? No. Some of them, yes. And we're going to leave power running to this location simply because this is going to be an area that we will revisit much later in the game. So we will leave power running, but we're going to go ahead and dismantle this solar panel, as well as these wind turbines.
04 platform runner designed by
Here we go. We are ready to embark in our beginning journey. Congratulations, you have officially completed the demo portion of the last Caretaker. Fortunately for my Steam friends on the demo, this is where our story ends. Now before we leave, you have a few options. If you're still having a hard time getting to level 5, or if you don't feel like you have enough resources available, or if you're struggling to get all of the power needs that you need for your boat, I personally recommend new players do one of two things before they leave this dock. This will help you get your levels, it'll help you with a little more experience, and will help you really understand the crafting elements of the game. I get a lot of comments from new players asking questions that we're going to cover in later videos. But specifically, they say, Martyr, what are these ports for on the side? Well, if you'll check out your skills tab, which we're level 5, we're going to check these out before we completely get going. You'll scroll down and you'll notice these little rectangles that have numbers on them. These are basically fuse boxes that plug into the Fabricator that make it a little more efficient or make it to where it can produce items more quickly. It's pretty wild. They've got several, so that's what those will do. They'll just plug directly into the Fabricator. It's nothing more involved than that. And you'll notice now that we're level 5, we have access to the bolt pistol, so we're going to unlock that. From here, it is entirely up to you what you choose to unlock going forward. I personally recommend, as you level up, anything that allows you more storage space, whether that's for materials, resources, or items, like the store light, or if that's for fuel, consumable resources, like diesel. As you level, unlock as many of those storage compartments as you possibly can, because like I said, real estate is an extremely hard commodity to come by in this game. So I highly recommend unlocking those as you come across them. Also, keep in mind what I said, as soon as you leave out from the dock, your first objective will be to build a loom light. So we'll go ahead and unlock that just for the sake of the objective. We're also going to need a fuel cable extender, so we'll unlock that. That leaves us 3 more skills left to play around with. We'll come back and revisit, but for now, the bare necessities are what we need. So while it's fabricating the last of the turbine blades, one of the things that I've noticed a lot in Reddit forums and other YouTube videos regarding the beginner area of this game, a lot of people say to avoid building wind turbines on top of your boat because your clearance to get in and out of these docks may be limited or cause damage. I personally have not run into that myself, and I have completed the beginning tutorial at least 10 times now, and every single time I have wind turbines here, but they're the smaller versions. They're certainly not the larger versions that you can build later on, so that may come into play. But starting out, you are totally fine to go ahead and build the Whisper turbine, which is the beginner turbine. And I like building them on top of my boat just to keep the real estate of the deck open for larger items and for higher ticket items that would serve a more efficient purpose versus a wind turbine. You actually have enough space to build quite a few of these up here. I'm going to keep mine limited. We'll build one more for good measure to have it. You do not have to build this many. I would say 3 or 4 would be more than sufficient. But since I had the resources, I decided to go ahead and make them. Get this last turbine blade. Okay, that's been completed. Now you'll need iron and plastic to build your extenders, your hubs. Go ahead and pick up some of that. We'll build our connector hubs, our little cable extenders, so we can actually get juice to our boat. I personally just like a clean look on my boat, to each their own. But now we have a more than ample surplus of power, so we will most likely not run out of electricity. Martyr, why did you do this? When you find yourself out in the open ocean in the last Caretaker, you're going to quickly realize how fast diesel is consumed by this boat until you either build enough of these cylinders as well as these squares to go on your engines to make those far more efficient, or you have a ridiculous surplus of these small diesel canisters. I do not. I have 2, but we do have this bad boy going, so that in tandem with the power, we should be okay. I personally recommend crafting what you're going to need to build all of these, just because of the dramatic difference it makes in the speed of your boat and the efficiency in which fuel is consumed. So again, to each their own. You can go about this in a myriad of ways. There is no one correct way to go about playing the last Caretaker, but there are a lot of fun ways to play. So let me know your thoughts. You guys drop some comments down below. Let me know how you guys went through your first playthrough of the last Caretaker. what worked for you, what didn't, what you wished you would have done different, and let's build a community that's thriving and helpful, where players can come and feel safe to ask questions that they may feel like they'll get laughed at otherwise. Before we embark, we're going to go ahead and save. That's a good practice to become a routine. And congratulations, kids. You are officially beginning your journey into the last Caretaker. Once you enter your boat, you'll need to lift the anchor, which is the space bar, and press forward or the W key to increase your throttle so you can pull out of the dock. Before we get much further, remember what I said. This cargo area in the back is for your net. We'll take a look at that as we're traveling to our first point of interest. But for now, take it all in, guys.
This vessel is more than just machinery. It's your refuge, your home now. Sail forth, Caretaker. Reclaim the waters humanity once commanded. The path is uncertain. Restoring navigational relays will illuminate our way. Beacon 49, eastward, should be your first step.
Thankfully, as soon as you embark, they go ahead and give you your first point of interest that you can check out. And you'll notice as you're drifting, you can navigate around your boat. Here is your map, which will become more open once you hit more navigation beacons.
You'll need to master basic crafting skills and generate your own resources to survive. Begin by fabricating a Lunalite solar panel.
If you'll keep in mind, we don't have to craft those parts because we went and broke down a solar panel on the roof before we left. So we should have all of these parts. One thing to be mindful of as you're traversing the open ocean, you'll see a lot of these mines, especially when you begin. So you'll want to keep a close eye on those so you don't run into them. Just be mindful of that as you're navigating to the first location, because they are directly in the path of your beginning area and where you need to be, and you will hit them, and it will blow your boat to smithereens. You have wildlife out here in the ocean, and going back to our cargo net, we'll see what that does when we get where we're going. Navigate around these sea mines. We're okay there. Looks like we're good. I think we'll be okay. Here's another habitat node. You can stop here if you want. I don't recommend it simply because there's more enemies here, and it would be a more useful point of interest to hit after you have opened your navigation beacons. But take note, as we're on the open ocean, the speed at which we're traveling. We're currently traveling at 22 kilometers an hour, which is about half the speed at which it would travel once you upgrade to tier 3 diesel engine cylinders, as well as the electrical engine cylinders. So now that we've navigated around the last sea mine and we are safely approaching the navigation beacon, we'll come back out here. And the space that we left on the roof, we're gonna go ahead and just pop up a little solar panel real quick.
Good job. You've successfully learned to craft and produce resources.
And there you go. You have completed the beginning tutorial of the last Caretaker, and the next video will break down the objectives at Navigation Beacon 49. As always, I appreciate you guys stopping by and checking out the content. I think what I will do is make a series of videos for beginners to end their first playthrough of the last Caretaker, simply because there is not enough information available online right now, especially through YouTube, on how to get through each of these points of interest efficiently and quickly to complete the objective. And there are videos that are out there, but I'm not watching an hour and a half long video just to get a simple notion taken care of. So if you guys have feedback and comments, recommendations and suggestions for the material you'd like to see on this channel, please let me know. You guys are what make it. You guys are why I do this. I really enjoy making videos and helping others understand these games that I love. So it gets better only if you guys help me get better. So let me know what you'd like to see, and we'll certainly make it something worth checking out. That's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Make sure to like and subscribe, do all the socials, leave some comments below, show some love, all that good stuff. And make sure to check out the next video where we explore the Navigation Beacon 49 and the last Caretaker. This is Martyr signing out. You guys be good, or be good at it.